Formula One fans, Ferrari has just unveiled its new insane suspension system that will change everything for 2026. This isn't just another technical experiment hidden away in the factory, it's a statement of intent. Deliberate. Ferrari is attacking the next regulatory cycle from a completely different angle, treating the mechanical platform as the foundation of performance. Not as a secondary element behind aerodynamics, at the center of this philosophy is the tire operating window. Ferrari's entire 2026 project seems built around one central idea: keeping tires in their optimal performance range, longer, more consistently, and through a wider variety of conditions. And here comes the stroke of genius. Ferrari is exploring a system that behaves like active suspension without actually being active. The regulations forbid active systems, but they don't forbid intelligently designed components that respond differently under load. Ferrari is exploiting this distinction. Controlled flexibility in the front upper wishbone, incredibly sophisticated carbon fiber layup, dynamic camber recovery, all completely legal. Stay with me because what I'm about to tell you is fundamental. Ferrari's new suspension concept for 2026 isn't just another technical experiment buried deep in the Maranello factory. It appears to be a silent but deliberate declaration of intent. What's begun to emerge suggests Ferrari is attacking the next regulatory cycle from a completely different angle, treating the mechanical platform as the foundation of performance, rather than a secondary element behind aerodynamics. The fact this information is now coming to light explains why these suspensions have suddenly become such an important topic. Because they suggest a level of ambition that goes far beyond incremental change. This is the first Ferrari completely shaped under Loic Serra's technical leadership, and that context matters enormously. Serra's reputation has always been built on translating driver feel into mechanical solutions, not just chasing theoretical downforce numbers, with the 2026 regulations tightening the aerodynamic envelope and reshaping how cars interact with the ground. Ferrari seems to have decided that mechanical grip, tire control, and predictability will be the real battlefield where races are won or lost. At the heart of this philosophy is the tire operating window. Ferrari's entire 2026 project seems built around a central idea: maintaining tires in their optimal performance range, longer, more consistently, and through a wider variety of conditions. This immediately explains why suspension innovation has become such a priority. Because no amount of aerodynamic efficiency can compensate for tires that aren't being used correctly. Tires are everything, and Ferrari understands this. What makes this suspension concept so intriguing is the suggestion that Ferrari is exploring a system that behaves like active suspension, without actually being active. Regulations prohibit active systems, but they don't prohibit intelligently designed components that respond differently under load. Ferrari appears to be exploiting that distinction, pushing right up to the mechanical limits of what the rules allow, while remaining completely compliant. It's a stroke of genius. The focus seems to be on the front suspension, traditionally an area that must be extremely stiff, to provide aerodynamic stability and precise steering response. Ferrari, however, is trying to introduce controlled flexibility into specific elements of the front suspension, particularly the upper wishbone. This isn't flexibility for comfort or compliance, but flexibility with a purpose, engineered to respond predictably when the car is subjected to real loads on track. The key lies in how the FIA tests components. Suspension elements are evaluated under static load conditions, not dynamic ones. If a component passes those static tests, it's considered legal. Ferrari engineers have redesigned a suspension arm that meets all static requirements, while allowing controlled deformation once the car is running at high speed. This is achieved through highly sophisticated carbon fiber layup, where fiber orientation and layering determine how the component behaves under different forces. The goal of this controlled flexing isn't random movement, but precise dynamic camber recovery at specific speeds and load levels. By subtly altering camber as forces increase, Ferrari can improve how the tire contacts the track surface. During critical cornering phases, this directly impacts grip, tire temperature, and wear, all areas of inconsistency for Ferrari in recent seasons. Camber control is one of the most delicate and influential balancing acts in Formula One because it sits at the intersection of grip, tire life, and thermal management. Too much camber increases load on the tire's inner shoulder, rapidly raising temperatures and accelerating wear. Too little camber reduces the effective contact patch, especially in high-load corners where lateral forces dominate. Ferrari's new suspension concept is designed to operate precisely in this narrow window, adapting camber behavior dynamically as load builds and releases through different phases of a corner. Crucially, this is achieved without relying on illegal active systems, but through carefully engineered mechanical behavior that responds naturally to forces acting on the car. What Ferrari is attempting here isn't static optimization, but dynamic optimization. Instead of locking the car into a fixed camber compromise, that only works in a limited set of conditions. The suspension is designed to subtly alter its geometry. Another critical pillar of this concept is the return to a double pushrod suspension layout, both front and rear. Ferrari hasn't used this configuration since 2010, and its reintroduction represents a fundamental rethinking of how mechanical loads are managed throughout the car. Pushrod layouts offer different advantages in terms of packaging, load transfer, and center of gravity control, particularly when combined with complex aerodynamic and floor requirements. This design direction makes even more sense when viewed through the lens of Ferrari's difficulties in 2025. The team repeatedly found itself trapped by an extremely narrow ride height window, forcing compromises that undermined both performance and reliability. Minor changes in fuel load, track conditions, or setup could push the car outside its optimal operating range, leading to excessive plank wear, downforce loss, and unpredictable handling. Those lessons appear to have directly shaped the 2026 philosophy. Rather than chasing peak performance in a fragile setup, Ferrari is now prioritizing a wider, more tolerant operating window that allows drivers to push with confidence. The suspension concept also aligns perfectly with Ferrari's broader development strategy for 2026. Fred Vasseur confirmed the car debuting at the first Barcelona test will be a Spec A version, with significant updates planned for subsequent tests. This suggests Ferrari is deliberately using the initial shakedown to validate the mechanical platform, committing earlier to corners and managing tires more effectively over long stints. Instead of fighting the car, drivers would work with it. Of course, this strategy carries significant risks. Controlled flexing exists in a gray area, where legality, durability, and performance must align perfectly. A component that flexes too much, or at the wrong point in the load cycle, could destabilize the car or attract unwanted regulatory attention. Formula One history is full of bold suspension concepts that failed under real conditions. Ferrari is fully aware it's walking a fine line, while others chase marginal aerodynamic gains. Ferrari is betting on the mechanical platform, on tires, on control, on predictability. It's a revolutionary approach. That could change everything in 2026. If it works, Ferrari will have struck gold. If it fails, it could be a disaster, but one thing is certain. Ferrari is thinking differently, and that could make all the difference.